Thank you very much, indeed, Mr. Deputy Speaker. Thank you. I thank my right honourable, the honourable member for Barrow and Furness for calling this debate, and it's a pleasure to be following him. It's a very important debate, as the appalling attacks, terror attacks in Britain in recent years have shown. I hope my words will be complementary to his, because I wish to shed a little light on some of the difficulties faced by the military and people in the foreign affairs and security worlds on this issue. And I had some knowledge of the ISIS campaign whilst working in the armed forces prior to my election to this place. We are in a muddle about how to deal with British jihadis. The government, to which I'm very sympathetic, I think is doing its best, but I fear it has been somewhat hidebound by human rights and policing legislation and laws from earlier governments which make military action in some foreign states extremely difficult. And the reality is, it is easier to kill a British jihadi in that state rather than arrest them or turn them or rehabilitate them. I do not mean that in either a positive or negative a way, but merely as a statement of fact. Now, as far as I can see, and to my understanding of this is down to what is known as detention pathways. These are processes which stipulate the rules and procedures to be followed when making arrests in order to do so lawfully and to respect the detainees' human rights, whether some people think they should be respected or not. This works on two levels. First, the detention pathway in states that does not control its own territory, such as Syria and the Syrian regime, is non-existent. Therefore, it is incredibly problematic for the US or UK allies in Syria to be able to make an arrest legally and without challenge, and equally difficult for the UK, therefore, to take possession of that prisoner. Is that person a prisoner of war? Is that person a terrorist? Is that person a criminal? It becomes more difficult still in cases involving proxy forces whose understanding of the Geneva Conventions may be somewhat murkier than one would sometimes wish. Secondly, even in allied states, such as Iraq, and for example, in the Kurdish territories in northern Iraq, detention pathways are still problematic because they can be challenged in the UK or from the UK by human rights lawyers in this country if they think there are human rights violations taking place. And we've seen some pretty appalling examples of ambulance chasing on an international scale, and I'm very glad that some of those lawyers have been struck off. Those states are fragile for a reason, and the rule of law and the behaviour of soldiers is not always as high as one would wish, and is almost always the case in our own standards. Therefore, the use of UK law overseas, and specifically RIPA, Regulation of Investigatory Powers, which regulates police in the UK, has been problematic. Please do not misunderstand me, Mr. Deputy Speaker. One of the principles of ethical war is that it is legal. However, warfare which becomes too overtly legalistic and belongs more to a box-ticking culture than a culture of an understanding, a fundamental, natural understanding of ethical law, is not necessarily moral. And there is some evidence, in my modest experience, that some of the legal hurdles that the UK forces operate under make war neither more legal nor more ethical. The member for Tunbridge and Morning wrote a pamphlet on this a couple of years ago called The Fog of War, and it is well worth a read. So summing up, through no fault of our own, I think the government has inherited a difficult position, a difficult problem with the application of lethal force and UK law overseas in fragile or collapsed states. And I do not have a simple answer because it's a deeply complex problem, and I somewhat saw it in action. And those laws do not always take into account local circumstance, failed states, fragile states, and are perhaps more evidence of the proof of unintended consequence. Thank you.
Minister Atkins.